Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here and talk to you because there was a long time I haven't had this kind of sessions and this talked about philosophical issues. And today I will start since this big question. Okay, is what you see what you get? Is what you see what you get? Okay, interesting. I think this question deals with epistemology, this way of understanding to be related to reality and how we can understand reality or what reality is, what reality looks like. So it's really interesting how to understand the constructed reality and these different perceptions coming from Aristotle and Plato. Okay, so first of all, I would like to tell you about let's see, yeah, let's get started with this big question. Okay, now I will read and I will kind of reflect on what I've read. So let's say, just say, you are walking through the new kitchen you have designed, opening drawers, turning appliances on and off, testing the water faucet in the sink, even listening to birds chirping outside the window. Okay, that's a common and very ordinary scene that any people can have in their ordinary world because everybody has born in a house and everybody has a family and everybody can have these sounds, these views, these daily routine that happens in their lives. Now you are flying over the landscape of Mars, studying its rocky terrain. Next, you move along the leaves a trail of tiny, lighted triangles sparkling with a with color and a sea of musical notes that swirl around you. You can fly up and enjoy the perspective from behind a clock on the wall, swim the bottom of the ocean, or travel through your own blood, bloodstream. Travel to your own bloodstream and to move a wand that leads a trail of tiny lighted triangles sparkling with color and theme of musical notes that swirl around you. Okay, that there's many scenes that are very fantastic, coming from some animation movies, just like the Disney movies, and those movies that we can appreciate and they don't happen in our ordinary perception and reality because we are used to work and see and perceive what apparently reality is like. But how that's how the question started. I mean, how can we distinguish what reality is and what is not? So, this is called virtual reality. Virtual reality. An observer would say that what you are really doing is sitting in a chair, wearing goggles and a glove, experiencing an artificial or virtual reality in an environment created by a computer. So that happens. That virtual reality is, a, is another world designed by software. We can brought the movie Matrix, okay, which is a movie that represents this virtual world where people are, where real people are not aware of they are truly connected and they are not living their real lives because they are trapped in some capsules, and what they are living really is all what is happening in its brain, not only in their imagination, but in all the human faculties that conform what uh, what is this kind of projection of consciousness of any human that can have an experience of what reality is like. I will say that when we sense, when we touch, when we perceive, when we capture and perceive what reality is, because we can have a sense, we have some philosophers have speculated about the the clues to notice, to identify reality against any other virtualities or imaginary scenes or imaginary scenarios that could um, that could be apparently very similar to what reality is. So when we are very to the subtle line of non distinguishing what reality is it is really what we can understand or not understand, how we can understand. Okay, that's a very modern uh, issue or a very modern concern that happened in the early 16th century, where philosophers such as Descartes and the empirist philosophers and French philosophers also they speculated about this way of perceiving reality. And there was the result of the philosophy that was dealing with names and concepts and terms and imagination and transcendental beings that are that they didn't have any foundation into the real world or the material world, but so this is why science became one of the first systematic way of thinking uh, who could represent itself what the reality is, this rationalism. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so this is why we can distinguish, or how we can distinguish what reality looks like or what it doesn't look like. So virtual reality, I'm very, very, very curious about that concept, the virtual reality, because it's just like the concept that gives us the clue what is virtual reality. So according to this, is something that was created uh, by a computer, by the software, but where does it come from? So if we find, okay, what's virtual reality? Virtual reality, origin, okay, history, it says, okay, it says it is a web page. Uh, okay, we look at Wikipedia, we can find virtual reality. Okay, we can say VR is a simulated experience that employs 3D near eye displays and pose tracking to give the user an immersive feel of a virtual world. So it is according, it has a foundation of the technology. It relies on the technology to have this extension of what the these other sensors and that were built by scientists and some technicians who developed this technology from from which we can perceive not only this close reality, but beyond this reality. That's amazing because we are not aware of that. All the, for example, this the computer that I have in front of me, or for example, the the phone that I am watching it, that I'm watching it, or the other technology, for example, I mean, a phone, a cell phone, those are based on this virtual reality that give us the. Thank you so much. The time is 9 p.m. So it will give me only 1 hour left, and because we have these many devices that provide us uh, what we are very close to reality, but at the same time, it's we are only dealing with virtual reality. We are we are. This is how. Uh, this is what reality looks like today. Because we are very present, we are very connected, we are super linked to this international community world, and we are also calling and we are in presence in a very uh, uh, how can I say, we are in a very omnipresence with this social media, with all this social media, with social through social media, through all the devices, to through through internet. Uh, I mean, we can be really close to what our family, our members are, but at the same time we are not with them. So I think, for example, this modern real life has been so quite different from the other modern life that has been in the last century or in the previous century. I mean, the 19th century, for example, and of course, definitely from those different centuries where life was literally virtually oriented to another kind of things. But what is virtual? What is virtuality? Okay, because I think that this concept only comes from uh, this is coming uh, once we establish the modern technology, just like the computer, the telephone, the television. Those interfaces give us this interaction to a virtual life where we interact deeply, but at the same time, uh, what was virtual, what was a virtual world, for example, but in other technology, it was there were only books for a long time. There were books, or there were uh, those records where we can have this. I wouldn't like to say this fiction or imagination because they are referring to our faculties, to our human faculties. But when we refer something that is virtual, is because it is just like and all these overlaps uh, our actual world and make us interact with it, or it's the close or talks, or if you want to say just like Heidegger says, it also covers what reality is. It's truly. So I think I wouldn't like to say that, but because this can only this can only this is only coming from technology, from different uh, um, how can I say, materials, right? Give me a sec. from different formats, um, format thought, yeah, from different formats. I mean, if there was a format in the past, in the very ancient time, where there was a stone or where there was a paper and there were many books, and then we could have this virtual technology coming from these machines that developed to some devices. Now they give us this information in a very uh, how can I say that that they look truly real. But I mean, for example, what was real to what our actual faculties that are interacting with this actual technology. I would say that is primarily our perception. Okay, so we are very empirist, and yes, in a very philosophical term, we are very empirist because what we see as reality is something that comes from a perception, and then we get captivated by our imagination because this device is giving us this trap where of course yes, and finally I think everything that because a reason is only is always uh, um, this undergoes and this is the base of everything. But what we are really interacting is our perceptual and imaginative faculties than other faculties. For example, if what you see, what the ancient Greeks had when hearing Homer poems, they had their their ears and their imagination, and of course some declamation, and they have all their interaction with what is something that is virtual. So I would say something that is virtual is something that is very close to reality, or it it is a part of reality, or it has something that is fundamentally part of the reality. I wouldn't say it's something that is entirely social because some philosophers claim that uh, these social or ideal things are are the other part of what matter is because our understanding and our human understanding covers what the material world is. Just like the Aristotle principles, you know, the form and the matter, they are co-principles that are together working. But at, when we start thinking in what virtuality is because um, we understand that it's something that is coming from some formats. And when I say format, is I would say one more time books or rocks or papers or some devices, okay, because they provide information. So in a very deep way, virtuality is a way we construct ourselves. Um, I wouldn't like to say that everything or the DNA it's only language because some that's one more time other thing that this is one more time or one thing that is very close to matter, okay, but I wouldn't like to reduct to materialism and language this virtuality because one people can say okay, uh, one philosopher can say, okay, the very prior technology for humankind was the voice, was the language, and with language and with the development of the language and development of what was no of the development of writing of writing or handwriting and um, carving stones to make some records and scripts is because uh, everything was coming from our voice. So the voice is something that gives us something virtually. Yes, I would say yes, but I wouldn't I wouldn't reduce virtuality to to the mere computer system. I wouldn't reduce virtuality to the mere computer or a software system because historically there have been other formats that materialize or provide what virtuality is. I would say uh, Don Quixote, Don Quixote, or those other fictional novels, or those other things and tales, and they gave us and they provide us more information to deal with. But what is important now is how we interact. That's the big question, and I would say that doesn't matter if okay, yes, it matters. Okay, yes, it matters, but for me, the big and the true question about the virtuality is that I think if we, I think if we think what virtuality is now and how we are linked to virtuality, it is very more interesting that it was in the past, in the last centuries. I wouldn't say that in the past was simpler, but we are dealing with other things. Uh, we are in use. We have these tools, and we are interacting literally with this kind of things that um, we can display and we can also break down some little details of what our humanity is coming or becoming. Yeah, probably humanity is becoming a very anatomic element that is or it is trapped or we can get any further or a wider perspective like the Marxism and that we are aligned, we are being aligned. We are being aligned. No, like Sartre philosophy, existentialism and Marxism. Um, mm, the existential philosophy of Jean-Paul Sartre. Okay, let me remember one more time. Okay, I don't have the answer right now. With okay, that we are not being um, the we are not being the boss or the real owners of ourselves, but we are only being aligned to a way of interacting with with matter, with technology, and some people praise. praise technology, other people are against are against technology. I would say that I would like to pose only the question: what is the interaction of virtuality and reality? That's very interesting. Okay, let's continue now. So it was so nice of these contracts of scenarios. Okay, so it says, I'm sorry would say that what you are really doing is sitting in a chair, wearing goggles and a glove, experiencing an artificial or virtual reality in an environment created by a computer. Unlike other computer simulations, however, in virtual reality, you do not experience a picture on a screen. Instead, you are in another environment, experiencing it in three dimensions and with your senses of touch, sight, and hearing. To you, the experience is real. Okay, so I haven't had the virtual experience through some devices of some goggles and some gloves, okay, that some video games promote, and they bring this virtual reality to our life, and there are a lot of worlds that um, are very are truly fascinated. Okay, in the past there were some books, and nowadays we have some video games, so we can have this interaction to, through weapons, guns, and helmets, and gloves, and some uh, googles. So Google and some goggles. So that's interesting. Unlike other computer simulations, however, in virtual reality, you don't experience a picture on a screen. Okay, so exactly just like Matrix, just like happening in the Matrix. So Matrix. Okay, let's read something about the Matrix. Okay, I will give you a brief uh, explanation about this from Wikipedia, and let's comment on it. The Matrix is a 1999 science fiction action film written and directed by the Wachowskis. Uh, it is starring Ken Reeves and other actors and actresses, and depicts a dystopian future in which humanity is unknowingly trapped inside the matrix. This is what I tell you. Okay, they are unknowingly. We know they are unknowingly trapped inside the matrix, and um, that's the dystopian future about the humanity, and that happens when we think in the relation between machines with a certain artificial intelligence, and when we have this fight between species, because when humankind finds another intelligent species in this world, so this is what biological uh, uh, basic instincts that arise, because they're as a species we really go for our protection and our selfness. But when we find another intelligent being, so this is when the fight starts, okay? And of course, this is what, for example, we can get. It is not only about willness. It is not only a matter of. It is not only a matter of will, which is something that happens uh, in that. Let's open. This is the last one. Okay, Hegelian dialectic of the dialectic of the master and slave, let's say. Hegel's master-slave dialectic. So this is what Hegel says about the master-slave dialectic. It is something that was written by Hegel. And Hegel says, and I read, okay, how does an individual human being become conscious of his place in the universe? How can I become fully aware of what I am and thereby validate my existence as a dignified human being? Is it possible to discover the true significance of my existence independent of other human beings? In his master slave dialectic, Hegel answers these questions of self consciousness by introducing the idea that the true self consciousness is a product of society and culture which cannot be achieved merely through individual existence. Yeah, that's the thesis. Hegel's thesis that we cannot merely gain our independent existence or our individual existence by themselves, but the way with that we gain self-consciousness is because we enter in a dialectic um, a place that I find another conscious, and then we need to fight. Now, Robert C. Solomon explains Hegel's idea as such. Human existence is primarily a matter of mutual recognition, and it is only through mutual recognition that we are self-aware and strive for the social meanings in our lives. Only by seeing ourselves in relation to other humans in society can we determine our sense of dignity and establish our place in the world which we live in. Hence, Master's life dialectic tells the story of two independent self-consciousness. This is what happened in that supposition of having two independent self-consciousness, that they find themselves and they encounter one another and they engage in a life and death struggle. They engage in a life and death struggle. So this is exactly what happens when something that is an intelligent species. Okay, we enter in this dynamic. Okay, we are engaged in this life and death struggle. It doesn't happen one day. It doesn't happen 1 minute. It can be, but it's more like a pulsion. It's something that happens when we deal with another's conscious and intelligent thing or intelligent being. So when we have some intelligent machines here, let me get back to Matrix um, Wikipedia explanation. Okay, so this is what happens because we couldn't win our biological our biological and weak skins couldn't fight against the machines. But more important that our intelligence and our weapons and our technology couldn't fight against machines. So machines found themselves a way to survive. They wanted to live. They wanted to survive. They didn't want to live. That's something interesting, okay? How can a machine can think about life according to Matrix? So what I saw, there were only machines who were looking for being permanent in existence, but without any idea, but without having any idea of a super
as happiness, for example, from Aristotle. Okay, so there were only machines who were looking for the premise of can be survive of persist. That's very Spinozist of persistence. Only persist. It doesn't matter if we survive. Survive it's more biological. Now, um, so our okay, humans are unknowingly trapped inside the matrix, and a simulated reality that intelligent machines have created to distract humans while using their bodies as an energy source. Exactly. How did the machines survive? How did they obtain the energy from? Exactly, from us. This is why they kept us alive, but without conscious of our our state. So, avoiding this Plato approach uh, to the metaphor of the cavern, I would say that um, give a sec. I would say that um, yeah, yeah. Um, we we were reduced to be the batteries to to the machines, so they can persist in existence. Okay, in existence, and then we needed to be distracted. How? Because we are conscious. So the only way, and that's very Hegelian. That's one more time the master-slave dialectic. One more time is because the other way of the conscious that loses the fight is to be a slave. How were we captured? We were captured by probably the most, just like slavery is, without any virtuality. Slavery can have or can be shaped in many forms, in many shapes. Slavery can be only the absence of. Slavery is mainly ignorance. Slavery is mainly unwilling, is being unwillingly of our power, of our faculties, of our capacities, of our aptitude, of our attitudes. We have our will has been captured, has been drained from us. That's terrible. So we have many kinds, or we have a wide spectrum of slavery. And we can also ask, or we can also pose the question if we are slaves or not of the virtuality of the reality we are living in. If we go to the premise that the virtuality is part of reality, we can have a light of how much slave we are of both. But if we think we are free or we are real in our reality, or we are virtually, because something that is virtual is mainly something that is fictional in its very DNA. It's something that is fictional, of course, something that has been invented. we know that thing was been invented. If it weren't so, so that fiction could eat us up and consume, just like happened to Don Quixote. Okay, so Don Quixote wanted to be a knight, fighting to solve concerns, and he was fighting I for very honorable ideas, but in a very modern world. Okay, one more time. Okay, coming back to our questions. Okay, so what happens here is that we were captivated, we were abducted, and something that happens with slavery is what Plato says in that amazing description of humankind, because humankind is it's what anthropology is, because we are slaves. We are slaves. We are truly slaves, and we are not aware of this. We are not aware of it. And what we think is very close and very real, it is only a shade. It's only a shade. It's something. It's the most fake thing that I have ever seen. That is the purest, is the clearest, is the most sensible thing that I have ever seen. But at the same time, when we realize it, that it is fake, it's the darkest, it's the foolest, it's the foolish, it's the darkest, it's the it's the it's a scam. It's a scam. It's a it's a lying. It's the most deceitful thing that I have ever known. So it's quite interesting how we can think that our closest world, our more sensitive world, is at the same time the darkest, the most deceitful, the and I would say this fraudulent, the most fraudulent, because it was some things where were made with evil and cruel intentions of keeping me away from the real things, to truth and humanity. So we are slaves at a certain degree. Supposedly, it is knowledge that make us freer. Supposedly, it is philosophy that make us climb up to the cavern and sunlight of the ideas to reach what other people can't reach easily, to understand, to understand what all, when I mean all, it's because no person in the present times, neither person in the present times nor in the past, having reached the pure idea I have ever had. So this is what philosophy is. But I would say one more time thinking what reality is, or because we are talking about this movie. So yes, so um, this is a simulated reality. That's virtual reality, something that is simulated. But that's something important here because when something is simulated, it's because matrix matrix system. Yeah, the matrix software is a program that was designed to keep humanity or to keep humankind consciousness slaved. So this is what matrix is. It is not a program to. So it's one more time this contracts. We are free. We cannot free entirely. We cannot be truly free because freedom, freedom, freedom is an idea that everybody fights for, everybody wishes for. Freedom is an idea that that um, that feel inflate, that feel inflate, that fill our lungs, that inflate our hearts, and we are always pursuing as as it happens to happiness, for example. Freedom is something we want because we don't have it. We don't have freedom. So when we wish for something, because I'm lacking for it. So I would say that freedom is something that we don't have as a certain, because freedom is freedom is something that we gain, but we are a slave at the same time, unless we have a special condition, unless and that's very curious, unless freedom goes along with truth. So, in that way, philosophers thought, or philosophers had thought that truth, it's the only way that can free us, that can release us from our chains. Religion says so. Christianity says so. The truth. There is a common saying that says so. Freedom makes us happy. Freedom gives us no. Truth makes us free. Just like that. Truth makes us free. Truth makes us free. Now, our main purpose is not looking for freedom, but truth. Maybe we can understand we are captive, in, in we are captivated, we are in a jail, we understand what it is to be restricted, what is to be grounded, what is to be in many, what is to live with a lot of restrictions, what is to live with ignorance, for example, and we we can, I think we all have experienced some sort of this kind of different experiences in a certain way, so we can understand how we can go for freedom, go for so I also can understand how we can go for freedom and trying not to be ignorant or stuck in the same status. But this is something that I really want to know. when when we have kind of the sense, or when we have the basic necessities, we can fight for truth, and that's a very intellectual and very, very, very hard way. One more time, Plato was right. The cover myth. Plato's cover myth. Plato's cover allegory of the cave. The allegory of the cave. That is the allegory of the cave. One more time, the allegory of the cave. Plato's allegory of the cave was totally right, because the assumption of the philosopher, of the prisoner's heart, so hard in two ways. In a very physical way, but more importantly, in the sight, because our sight needs to transform to see what is the real light, what the light, what the real light is, to observe. We need to transform our sight, which is too much hard. Now, so we need to go for the truth, and then we can understand what is freedom now, and we can have a better understanding of what freedom is. But I would like to say something. Freedom goes always with slavery. I mean, when we are free, I, I, I think that that happens with everything in the values or concepts. Just like the option, because it's an election, it's something that is up to people. I mean, they are free in something, and they are slavery of that at the same time. And they are slave of that reality at the same time. So I mean that's very ontological because we kind of we couldn't be totally free. That's something that we don't know. What we only what we only can be, it's to think how much free we can live in this mortal life. But we are not totally free because we are mortal. We cannot be gods. We cannot be pure spirits without bonds. But we can be more rational, more intellectual. Reason is just like Greek says, and the ancient Greek philosopher established that our logos, our reason is the organ that can give us freedom ethically. However, ontologically, we wouldn't be free. We are free in a certain way, in the best way we could be, because we are rational. We have gone beyond our bones, beyond virtuality, our different realities we could have, but we haven't had. But at the same time, we are. This is what Socrates was perceived as the freer person in the world, but he knew something. He was in prison of his ignorance, the intellectually humble. He was intellectually humble, which is something that is more freer, and that's very that could be thought at or something that is in contrast. Oh yeah, I don't know how what, but that's something that's interesting. Okay, everything because of the virtual world. Okay, now let's. I only wanted to establish that freedom is not truly the opposite of slavery, But ontologically, we are free on one side, but in the same shape, we are free, we are slave of the same shape on the other side. And it is something that is hidden, something that is too much obvious because this is what reality is. Reality is obvious. Let's let's uh, let's continue. When computer programmer Thomas Anderson, under the hacker alias Neo, uncovers the truth, he joins a rebellion against the machines along with other people who have been freed from the Matrix. Okay, so of course, in the real world, there are a group of humans. There are a group of humans that are living under on the ground. They have some caves. They have some facilities in under the ground, and they were some of them were freed from the Matrix, and we have an example of the cyberpunk, some subgenre of science fiction, cyberpunk. Other influences include Plato's Clave and 1990s Telnet hacker communities. Telnet? Let's Plato's Clave one more time. Only to remember one more time the Plato's Clave because that's something that matters now. It happens in his work Republic, Plato, and in book seven. In book seven, so it is started to compare the effect of education and the lack of it on our nature. It, it is written as a dialogue between Plato's brother Glaucon and his mentor Socrates. The allegory is presented after the analogy of the sun and the analogy of the divine line. Imprisonment. They are imprisonment. Okay, so let me read you what's Plato's allegory of the cave. Okay, it is an allegory presented by the Greek philosopher Plato in his work Republic. In the allegory, Plato describes people who have spent their entire lives chained by their necks and ankles in front of an inner wall with a view of the empty outer wall of the cave. So, what the prisoners were only in interaction to what they think is what they think reality is because they have some shades from the outer wall of the cave. They observe the shards projected. They observe the shards projected onto the outer wall by the objects carried behind the inner wall by people who are invisible to the chained prisoners and who walk along the inner wall with a fire behind him, creating the shadows on the inner wall in front of the prisoners. The sign bearers pronounce the names of the objects, the sounds of which are reflected near the shadows and are understood by the prisoner as if they were coming from the shadows themselves. Only the shadows and sounds are the prisoner's reality. Yeah, what we only perceive is only shadow and sounds, which are an accurate representation of the real world. The shadows represent distorted and blurred copies of reality we can perceive through our senses, while the objects under the sun represent the true forms of objects that we can only perceive through reason. Three higher levels exist: natural science, deductive mathematics, geometry, and logic, and the theory of forms. Socrates explains how the philosopher is like a prisoner freed from the cave and comes to understand that the shadows on the wall are not the direct source of the image seen, A philosopher aims to understand and perceive the higher levels of reality. However, the other inmates of the cave do not even desire to leave their prison, for they know no better life. That's interesting. They know no better life. So this is something that happens when we only know this world. They know no better life. Socrates remarks that this allegory can be paired with previous writings, namely the analogy of the sun and the analogy of the divided line. Okay, good. Now let's my God. Now, and okay, now let me tell you later after the matrix. Now, let me finish this. I really would like to talk more about this the book, but I think that wouldn't I wouldn't end now because it's coming late now. So let's end this session. And I was very fond of understanding two major or maybe four major categories or concepts. First of all, reality, which is something that I haven't taught at all. Because reality, I mean, it's very, oh my God, that's truly, it's truly a big concept. But virtuality can be apparently easy. Okay, so we have established reality in contrast to virtuality, and we have also understood better what is truth, and we have in a post the concept of truth to any other concept, not now. Good, so it was very fun. So that's it. See you. Bye bye.